Welcome back to the Case IQ Compliance Monitoring Academy. In this module, we'll explore the foundation of effective compliance monitoring, your data, your configurations, and the way we follow each transaction across its full life cycle. Every good monitoring program starts with good data. Case IQ's compliance monitoring product integrates with your core business systems, HR, travel and expense, and enterprise resource planning, or ERP systems, to gather the financial information needed to identify risk accurately. This means pulling data like vendor master and vendor payments, customer master data, orders, credit notes and free goods, expense reports and receipt images, and employee attributes and organizational hierarchies. And we connect to those data sources such as SAP, Oracle, and Concur with connectors we have built so that your monitoring effort does not get bogged down within your IT team. Unlike consulting firms and other providers who require your IT team to do manual extraction of data, we have worked for nearly a decade to make the data acquisition process as simple as possible for our customers using standardized connectors. But it's not enough to simply collect data. We normalize and structure those data sources so the analytics and AI layers can compare apples to apples, regardless of geography, currency, or format. Good monitoring depends on data that is complete, consistent, and clean. We know everyone worries about the cleanliness of their data, but the reality is that if you have a major system, such as SAP, Oracle, or Concur, your data is by definition clean enough to run compliance monitoring analytics. And we have years of experience with companies doing just that. Once the data foundation is established, the next step is configuring your risk model. The goal is to ensure that your compliance program reflects your risk priorities without requiring coding, scripts, or data science skills. Our compliance monitoring product requires only a risk professional to operate it, without needing to add any new skills or team members. We provide dozens of advanced, out-of-the-box risk analytics based on our deep expertise in forensic accounting, compliance, and analytics. These factory settings are then entirely configurable through a user interface you control. Our configuration tools allow you to prioritize specific spend categories such as donations, sponsorships, or consulting fees, highlight employee roles or departments with elevated risk based on past issues, and focus on specific geographies, or even pinpoint specific vendors, distributors, or employees. You can even create custom risk rules combining several factors to target specific fact patterns from prior investigations, audits, or compliance reviews. These configurations shape your analytics by focusing on what matters most to your organization. And when we bring on a customer, we risk score several months of historical transactions during a pilot period and let you curate your analytics further before formally launching your analytics engine. This ensures your approach is accurate and right-sized to your organization and the resources you have to review transaction alerts. With data brought together and risk configured, Case IQ begins monitoring every step of your financial processes and providing a holistic risk score for that transaction. For vendor payments or procure to pay, for example, we follow a transaction from purchase requisition to purchase order, to invoice, and through to payment and score that entire flow as one transaction. This ensures you are not inundated with reviewing the same transaction at multiple phases in the transaction lifecycle. For example, getting an alert for the PO and then another alert for the invoice and yet another for the payment. Instead, in our tool, your team gets one holistic alert. Our approach also enables you to run specific analytics that look at the overall life cycle, such as any unusual timing between the purchase order and the invoice, or the invoice and the payment. For example, if your organization typically pays vendors 90 days after an invoice, the system might flag emergency payments that are made within 2 days of an invoice, a common signal of an improper payment. One of the most powerful insights from lifecycle monitoring comes from comparing the declared intent of spend to the actual downstream activity. For example, a donation approved for a certain charity, but then paid to a different one or for a different amount would raise red flags and can be escalated to your monitoring team in real time. Compliance monitoring can detect these discrepancies at scale in a way manual review would likely miss. This is where real-time monitoring uncovers what traditional controls often miss. Approvals define what should happen, but monitoring tests what did happen. When your data is unified and your risk settings are tailored to your business, the AI layer becomes dramatically more powerful. Better data leads to better scoring, better alerts, and better monitoring outcomes. And all of this makes the machine learning or risk learning model in our tool even stronger. Over time, your AI confidence scores trend higher and the system identifies more and more pertinent transactions for review. In the next module, we'll look at what happens after a transaction is flagged and how workflows help you triage, investigate, and resolve issues efficiently. Thanks for watching.